Okay, so I've just finished making up the tapered leg jig. Goes from 35mm, leaves 125mm for the start of the taper. And, sorry, gotta walk all the way around. Comes all the way down here, and ignore this end here, it'll get chopped off when I first flush it up. It will equal it up so that we end up with a 25mm base square on the bottom of the leg. So 25mm bottom on the leg, all the way up to the 35mm at the top where the taper starts. Okay, are you filming? Yeah. So I figured you'd want to get a shot of me actually using the jig, getting the legs tapered. So yeah, here goes. So that's one side of it done. I'll just flip it on its side now and do the other side, and the taper's done. Cool. Okay, so I've got a couple of things here that I didn't really talk about before. So legs, as per the video before, are all tapered, which is fantastic. Now the legs and a lot of the carcass are going to be made out of lemon scented gum. I just happen to have a bit of that left over at home, so that's what the carcass is going to be made out of. The feature parts though, the top here is a fantastic bit of live edge camphor laurel that I had a full slab of it, and was just lucky to not have a use for it. Now I'm going to be casting the rest of the top here with a black resin with a silver swirl in it. I'll add some photos of that once I've got that done up. And the other feature part here is just another piece of camphor. I had a nice big bit of grain figure there, and that is going to be the front of the drawer. Undecided yet if I'm going to add any more camphor to other pieces, but I do have a lot more of this, so I'll decide, and you'll see, and I'll say as I go along. Awesome. So on conclusion of doing that bit on the bandsaw, you can see here that I have my complete tenons on the back rail, two sides, and the top and bottom front rails ready to go. So now time to get doing some mortising on the legs. Okay, so I've got this set up so that it can feed in along the grain, and it's going to cut out that 3mm distance on the end there that is going to be the long shoulder once I cut out across the grain as well. So I'll just feed this in quickly. I'll do both sides on both ends. I've already done a test run, so I know it's set up accurately. I'll just go for it. Okay, so you can see here I have cut out those shoulders, so now they just need to be cut across the grain, and that will fall off. Then it is just a matter of cutting out the shorter shoulders there. Cool. Okay, so it's the next day, and what you can see here is I've just thicknessed and ripped down to width and cut to length my side rails, back rail, and the two front rails, top and bottom. Now they are measured to have an extra 17.5 millimeters here on either end. That is for the tenons, for when I'm going to cut those out. Now you can see that with the draw there, that is going to leave exactly 300 mil on each side as per the plan. So next step, and I'll get a video of me doing this, is finishing marking out these tenons and cutting them out on the bandsaw. Now I'm going to be cutting the short shoulder on the bandsaw and the long shoulder with a dovetail / tenon saw. See which one I've got readily available over here. And that will get this part completely ready before I then go on to doing some mortising. Awesome. You'll have to forgive my lines here a little bit, though the machine will end up correcting it anyway. That's just the final marking out for my tenons. So you can see here, I'm going to have a 10mm short shoulder and 3mm long shoulder. Okay, so I'm just going to do a bit of a run through of what I have been working on with the mortising. Now, mortising I have measured up so that it's going to have a 4mm offset from the edge on the outside face for the side rails. You can see there where I've marked in my waist. Now I did have a little bit of a test run already, and it has actually worked out fairly fantastically, as you can tell by the fact that I am struggling to get that apart. But you can see there. Now that I did by pre-drilling over here. You can see I had a little bit of a boo-boo with the measurements on this one, but fixed it up. So drilling a bunch of holes down along. Now the depth has been gauged on that so that it won't go too far. set to the exact same depth as the tenon. Drill a whole bunch of holes down along there, and then I come back over here to my handy mess of a chisel station where I have the chisels, these 2/3 I should say, 1, 2, 3 in particular, that have been picked out because I'm able to do the job most efficiently with those 3. Mallet, of course, if need be, but I have actually been sharpening these up, so I'm finding that I'm actually able just to, with a slight bit of hand pressure, do the work to remove the remaining waste after the drilling, just with hand pressure and these nice sharp chisels. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue doing this mortising. I'll try and get a couple of videos of me doing some drilling and chiseling. So, you can see there, all drilled out along the mortise. Now time to go and chisel. Right, I just had to have a bit of a aside there. The school general assistant came in while I was videoing. But as you can see here, just before I knocked that last video off, I scraped out all the shavings. So that one is all mortised out. And we can go ahead and slot this in. Might need a slight tap with the mallet. That looks like it's gonna go all the way down. Excellent, it's nice and flush on the end. Flush in here as well. Perfect. Now, last step that I have to do is actually on these front ones, getting them mortised so that they sit in to support the drawer, which will be going widthways, of course. Cool, I'll get onto that now. I guess it was time to show you a little bit of chiseling. I've done actually the majority of my mortising now. The camera's actually leaning on the other legs that are standing up, all joined to the sides. Just dry fitted, of course. So I'll just go for it. Like I was saying when before, I'm finding that because I've got these chisels nice and sharp, I'm finding that the hand pressure is all I need to be able to get it to go down, taking off nice thin cuts every time. The only point where I really need the mallet is when I'm doing the end pieces, getting that rounding from the drill bit out. Which of course is mainly because I'm going across the end grain on the inside of the mortise. It's just that little bit harder. Once I get it flat, it is actually easier to do by hand, taking off thin, clean shavings. Just needs the mallet to do that initially. Just to do this far side here. Hey. Okay, so I'm just getting started on the drawer. Just here I've got the front here and back. They're cut out to size, and I have just marked up the sides and cut them out as well, and thickness them down so that they're at the correct thickness to the front and back. I'm doing the half blind dovetails on the front. For that, I'm going to be using a dovetail jig, and then for the back I'm going to be hand cutting them, sorry, to attach the back piece. So I'll get onto that. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm just getting ready to mark up these hand cut dovetails for the back of the drawer, and I thought you'd like a video of me doing that and just talking my way through it. So what I'm doing is I've just got here for the sides, I'm going to mark up the dovetails themselves, not the pins, obviously. I'm going to measure in 5mm from the end and on each side. Just mark that off, 5mm in, and that is going to be the starting point for the dovetail that is on each end. Now, once I have done that, and this is just a little trick that I've picked up along the way, rather than getting out the rule and dividing it all up and doing the maths, I'm going to sort of do a bit of a skipping it trick. Going to use these pair of calipers here, and I'm going to place it first on the 5mm line, and I'm going to just walk it along and see if I can get 3 dovetails in there. Now, you can't really see in this video, but it's actually come up a little bit short. What I'm wanting for it to do is to come up just a little bit past that 5mm mark. So I'll just widen these a little bit, and I need to remember that because this is a 3-step process, like 3 steps twisting around, any change that I make to these, the compass here, sorry, not calipers, the compass, is going to be times by 3 by the time I get to the end. So once again, I'll go and I will start there, walk it along, and that one has come up just past the line. Still not quite happy with how far it is though, so I'll just adjust it one more time. And we'll walk it one last time, starting on the line. And that is much better. It's coming up much further down. Now, that gap there that you can't really see in the video, once again, is going to be the gap that I'm going to have between each dovetail. So I need to make sure that that gap is something that I'm happy with as being the gap between each dovetail. So now that I'm happy with it, what I'll do is I'll go back to the starting line, dig it in a little bit, go to the next one, dig it in a little bit, spin it again, dig it in, spin again, and that's going to be the last spot there. Now, I will start at the other end, dig it in, and dig it in. Now, I'll just put pencil marks in here before I pick it up and show you, so you can get a bit of an idea of what I am actually doing here. So, if I show you this now, I now have those 2 marks side by side are going to be the spaces between my 1, 2, 3 dovetails. So I will now square those off across the top using my tri-square, which I have sitting here. So that is the marks for the tops of my dovetails. Now on this other side here, I don't think you would have seen it already. I've already marked the thickness for this back piece so that I know how far down those dovetails are going to go. I do, however, now need to mark on the dovetail pitch that will carry over that. So for this one, I've actually just decided, because I prefer it, to do a 1:6 ratio pitch, which I have actually already set up on this sliding bevel. Now, the way that I did that was on just this piece of scrap timber here. I measured a 10mm gap and then just drew a line straight up from that using a square, then have measured 60mm up, so 6 times the distance there all the way up, and then joined those marks. That angle there, and you can use it in inches or millimeters or centimeters, that angle there is always going to be the 1:6. Then all I had to do was hang the bevel edge over the side. This is backwards here, sorry. Over the side and line it up and set it in place. So that is there now at a 1:6 ratio. So now all I have to do is go along, and I'll start going this direction first and mark those lines on so that they join down. Don't love when the vise gets in the way. Might actually bring it up, that will be better. So that they go down and accurately join and will show me my dovetails. Now, come back this direction. Ugh. Helps if you can see what you're doing. Last one at this end. Always a fun one doing the end one with not much material there to keep it straight. Whoop. Wandering pencil along the grain. Okay. So that's now that side fully marked up with my dovetails. I'll quickly just line in where my waste material is so that you can see a bit more clearly where those dovetails are. There we go. So those are my dovetails with that 1:6 pitch on there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cut those out with a dovetail saw, cutting down straight to that shoulder, making sure that I come up short, of course. Cut across in the bottom there with a coping saw, and then use a chisel to just finally clean up that last little bit. So I'll mark on the other side as well so that I've got the distances all gauged on there correctly so that I know I'm being 100% accurate. Then once I've got that all marked out, I will be able to trace it onto the drawer back to get my pins, which I will do in a separate video in a moment. Just another quick walkthrough of some of the things that I have been working on. So because of living in Tamworth and having short availability of tabletop fasteners, I decided to just go ahead and make my own out of some of the leftover lemon scented gum that I used for the carcass. Just did that by setting the depth on the compound miter saw and then cutting across the grain with that, and then along the grain with the bandsaw just to match it up. Then just drilling the hole to the right gauge for the screws, and I've got enough of those ready to go. In terms of the spots where I'm going to be fastening them, I've just gone ahead and done that with the biscuit joiner. Nice and easy way of doing it, and I have 2 on the left and right, 1 on the front and back. Should be plenty to hold it in place. Other thing that I have finished is my drawer. You can see I've already got it drilled out and everything for the handle. I've cut in the base slit, marked up and cut up some 4mm ply for that, and that is all fitted and ready to go. So yeah, now it's just the final little bits before I finish and then put the handle on.